What if I told you that the real Atlanta Falcons roster makeover may just be beginning after the draft? That everything you thought was set in stone may actually still be up in the air? Because now that the 2025 NFL Draft is officially in the books, the window is wide open for a slew of veteran free agent signings that won't cost the team any compensatory picks. And with the front office already proving that it's not above using the future to win now, we could be on the cusp of some crucial final moves. Buckle up, because this is about to get interesting. Be sure to hit the like button if you've been a fan for 25 plus years, and if you can, comment like this, rise up. Now, you know how it works. After May 1st, NFL teams can sign free agents without those deals affecting the compensatory pick formula for next year's draft. That formula is a closely guarded league secret, but here's what we do know. Lose enough talent in free agency without signing much in return, and you could end up getting a few bonus draft picks. But start signing players too early, and you risk canceling out those bonuses. That's what savvy teams wait for, and that's exactly where the Falcons find themselves. Atlanta made 5 picks in the 2025 draft, filling important needs and investing in the future. But not everything has been solved. In fact, there are still some glaring holes. So let's look at 4 names still on the market who could jump in immediately and potentially change the course of this season. First up, and maybe the most intriguing, is defensive end Za'Darius Smith. Just last season, Smith was split between the Browns and Lions. After a mid-season trade to Detroit following Aiden Hutchinson's injury, he stepped into a critical role and thrived. He put up 9 sacks across the season. 9. To put that into context, that number would have led the entire Falcons defense last year. And it's not just about the sacks. Smith has been generating consistent pressure for years. In 2023, even though he officially logged just 5.5 sacks in Cleveland, he was enough of a force that the Browns gave him a 2-year deal. That says something. Smith's resume stretches back to Baltimore and includes productive stints in Green Bay and Minnesota. He's played both as a traditional 4-3 defensive end and a 3-4 outside linebacker. That kind of versatility is rare and valuable, especially in a defense that's still figuring out its identity. The Falcons brought in Morgan Fox in free agency and drafted young talent like James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. But let's be honest, none of them are polished, proven edge threats yet. And remember, Rooker Harora was picked, but he's likely more of a Grady Jarrett-style interior disruptor than a true edge rusher. Now imagine this scenario. First and second downs, you rotate in Fox and Harrison. Then on third and long, out comes Za'Darius Smith, fresh legs, laser focus, pass rush nightmare. Even if it's just 15 snaps a game, at his age, Smith could make a massive difference. The Falcons haven't had a consistent pass rush threat in years. Why settle when a guy like Smith is right there? Quick trivia break. Since 2016, only 5 rookies have hit double-digit sacks in their debut NFL season. The last was Micah Parsons in 2021. So before anyone pins those expectations on James Pierce or Jalen Walker, just know the odds aren't in their favor. If anyone on this roster is cracking 10 sacks this year, smart money might be on Leonard Floyd. Now, moving to the secondary, where another name that just won't go away this offseason continues to linger on the market, cornerback Asante Samuel Jr., and this one's a head-scratcher. Why is he still unsigned? The best theory? A shoulder injury he suffered last season may be more serious than reported. If that's true, teams could be wary about his long-term durability. But here's the thing, when Samuel is healthy, he's a baller. In each of his first 3 seasons, he grabbed 2 picks and posted double-digit pass deflections. That kind of consistency is rare. Last year, playing in a zone-heavy Chargers defense, he looked right at home. Atlanta, which also leans heavily on zone, would be a near-perfect fit. And it's not like the Falcons got their CB answer in the draft. They passed on a traditional outside corner, instead loading up on hybrid safeties and developmental DBs like Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. Clark Phillips and D. Alford are promising, but would you really prefer them over a healthy Asante Samuel Jr. if you're pushing for the playoffs? Now we know Terry Fontenot already dipped into 2026 draft capital, giving up a first and a fifth. That's not a conservative move. That's the kind of all-in push that says, we need to win this year. So if a guy like Samuel is sitting there and can come in and elevate this secondary to no-fly zone status alongside Jesse Bates, A.J. Terrell, Richie Grant, and Mike Hughes, how do you not at least make the call? And just to spice things up a bit, let me ask you this. Would you rather enter the 2025 season with a quarterback core led by Terrell, Hughes, and developmental players like Bowman and Bryant, or would you rather sign a veteran like Samuel and know you have some real depth? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's keep this momentum rolling, because the next two names on this list, they're not just fillers. They could be exactly the kind of under-the-radar additions that championship-caliber rosters are built on. And while they won't dominate headlines like a big-name edge rusher or a flashy cornerback, they hit positions where the Falcons could really use insurance, depth, or even a full-on upgrade. Let's talk about center Nick Harris. Yeah, I know, center isn't the sexiest position. But think about what this team is trying to do. Protect a veteran QB in Kirk Cousins, establish a dominant ground game with Bijan Robinson, and finally find consistency on offense. And that all starts up front. The Falcons didn't draft a center this year, and while Ryan Neuzil is the favorite to take over if Drew Dalman slips, is that enough? That's where Harris comes in. Drafted in the 5th round by the Browns back in 2020, Harris was actually in line to be Cleveland's starting center in 2022, until a torn ACL in the very first preseason game knocked him out. Brutal. Then in 2024, just as he was clawing his way back, he fractured his fibula in early October against the Eagles. 2 devastating injuries in 3 years. But here's the key, when he's been healthy, he's looked like a starting caliber center. This isn't some career backup. This is a guy the Browns trusted with their line. The only reason he isn't starting now is because of injury timing and how well his replacement played. That's it. So if the Falcons' medical staff likes what they see and feels confident about his recovery, Harris could be brought in as serious competition for Neuzil. And at worst, he's a rock-solid backup. That's exactly the kind of depth you want in the trenches. Now, let's move to the most surprising name of this list, kicker Eddie Pinheiro. Yes, kicker. Because let's be brutally honest here, Young Hoku was not the same guy last year. Whether it was mechanical, mental, or just a slump, his misses were piling up, and in games where field goals matter more than ever, that's a dangerous trend. Here's what makes Pinheiro interesting. At one point, he held the title of the most accurate kicker in NFL history based on percentage, minimum kicks required. That's not just good. That's elite. He's bounced around the league, from Chicago to Carolina, but when he's been healthy, he's been consistent. Just like with Nick Harris, injuries got in the way, not a drop-off in talent. So what's the logic? Simple. Bring in Pinheiro, let him compete with Koo through camp and preseason. Worst case, Koo rebounds and regains his form because of the pressure. Best case? You have 2 viable kickers, and you roll with a hot hand. But what the Falcons absolutely cannot do is ignore this. Kickers are make or break. You don't get do-overs when the game is on the line and there's 2 seconds left. To sum up, here's the big picture. The Falcons made moves in the draft. They made moves in free agency. But if Terry Fontenot truly believes this is the year to go all out, if grabbing future draft picks means a decisive 2025, then these 4 veteran free agents make too much sense to ignore. From Za'Darius Smith's pressure to Asante Samuel Jr.'s proven cornerback skills to Nick Harris's sneaky value in the trenches to Eddie Pinheiro's potential to stabilize the special teams, these are the factors that make the difference. Now, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Go Falcons!